semblance of spring and sun. And for us early morning risers, you actually hear like the birds chirping. Yes, I'm into all those kinds of things. And, it's nice just to be able to probably walk outside in a t-shirt for once. My friends in Florida, you're probably all thinking it's like way too hot. So, I was thinking a lot about kind of this group and the way this is going. And I'm very excited in watching the way that you guys have all collaborated with each other, right? So hit yes if you've attended an accountability session. So a lot of us, right? So if you look at learning, and I was talking about this, we had an event in Boston, so I see some familiar faces. It's great to see some of you actually outside of a Zoom screen. Seminar learning, coaching, and how to implement it is actually a learned skill. So I just want to take a couple minutes to talk about that and how you can really make sure that what you learn here is shows up in your business and you benefit in your life, right? Like great coaching is when your business and life both get better at the same time. Either one can happen by accident. They both happen together on purpose. Now, as you're learning these things, it's like attention, retention, repetition, right? And it's the continuity of what you do. So all of us should have time in our calendars to go through and practice what we learn, right? If you're going to do this, the accountability groups is the simplest way. You can show up and there's a whole group of people that are doing this. But outside of that, I always like to say the 5-minute rule, right? Which is almost halfway through the year, so we'll make it the 10-minute rule. If you practice 10 minutes a day for the next 150 days, it's 25 hours that you'll get better at doing something, right? So as we're going through this blueprint, pick out what part of your business makes the most sense for you and really double, triple down on it, right? There's some agents I could tell looking here who are like hit yes if you're in this business 3 years or less in the chat. Let's see where all of our newbies are. 1, 2, 3. So a few of us, right? So look, even whether you're new, right, this is the time to learn these things the right way, right? I always say there are 2 things that are going to change your life in real estate: your ability to connect with people and meet them where they are, and your ability to explain the market, right? And that's what we're going to go into today. So let me just share my screen. So as always, we will start with a couple wins. If you've had a win recently from what you've learned here, drop it in the chat and give people an idea of how you're using what you're learning here in your business. And I'm not in the wins for just the rah of it. There's a nice part, but it's again, like when you talk about implementing what you learn, if you see how someone is using the information, it means you can use it too the same way. You guys are awfully quiet over there. Is everybody okay? Did everyone drink their coffee today? There we go. Turned off text notifications. I like that. I use the what we control. The what we control works great. So look at all these different parts that people have focused on. So as always, I want to thank our great accountability coaches, right? Julian, Kate, Irma, Stephen. Make sure to connect and make sure to thank them, right? They put a lot of time into doing this. And remember, I always want to start with this. The first investment of the day should be in yourself, right? Always take a moment, connect with yourself, and do things on purpose that give you momentum, right? Every day we have a choice on how we are going to start our day what we're going to listen to, what we're going to put in front of our eyes, and ultimately control the thoughts that we have in our head. So the best way to start your day is with momentum and multipliers. What can you do that'll give you momentum, and who can you be around that's a multiplier? If you spend your mornings with detractors, you need to cut them out of your life, right? Like there's some people that, like, if it was a movie, they'd walk in and the flowers would die, right? We got to get rid of those people in our lives, right? It's not very productive. All right, let's go through this. And I wanted to reinforce this from last week. The seven keys to having an effective conversation. Number one, it is always their choice. What a buyer decides to do, how much they offer to pay, how quickly they follow through. Do any of us have any control over that? No, right? So what we all need to be mindful of is, how are our clients thinking that we actually do have control, right? When somebody says, Liz, you can't find me at home, that means there's something that we've said that gives them the delusion that we control who decides to sell their home, right? You can't win me a bid. Well, what do you mean? I'm not the one writing the offers. I'm not the one that's choosing the offers. The second one, the person asking the questions controls the conversation. I don't think any of you are going on a job interview anytime soon, but I've done this with a lot of friends of mine. I'm like, watch, go into the recruiting interview and just start asking them questions. They're like, well, why would I want to do that? Because if you keep asking them questions, you're in control, and eventually they're going to try explaining to you why you should work there. They'll start selling you on it. Unless the person has a lot of training in sales and can do a pattern interrupt and flip the conversation, when you ask questions, you control the conversation. When you ask the right questions, you can get someone to the conclusion you want them to be at without ever having to say it. Number three, everything always has to be in the benefit of the other party. They did not come, you're not their parents. They did not come there for a lecture. They did not come to be told. They came there, whether their goals are delusional or they live in the world of reality, we still have to be in agreement with them. I'm not overpaying for a house in this market. Great. Overpaying is terrible. I wouldn't imagine anyone would want to do that, right? Versus, I'm not overpaying for a house in this market, right? Well, like, if you really want to get a home in this market, and then that's you're gone. So if you're saying things like that, it always has to be in their benefit. Number four, always be in agreement with their client, right? I don't want to overpay. Great. I don't want to overpay for anything either, right? Be in agreement with them. Doesn't mean that you can't get them to your outcome. Number five, no telling, no explaining, no being combative. If your view isn't the same as their view and they think your view is against their view, are they ever going to work with you? No. Are you ever going to get a price reduction? No. Are you ever going to have a good experience? No. Are they going to have a great experience? No. So don't do that. Never show you're attached to any outcome. The most dangerous person that has all the power in a negotiation is the one that's willing to walk away. I always share the example of telling a buyer, you know how buyers like get stuck with their ego on like $10,000, $15,000 on a house? Like, I'm not paying that. Great. So let me ask you a question. Would you go out to dinner tonight? And they're like, what? Like, yeah, would you go out to dinner tonight? Yeah, I would. Would you go out to dinner a week from now? Yeah. Would that cause any kind of financial constraint on you? No. Okay, I think you should pull your offer from this house. And they're like, what? No, but really, I don't think you should live here, and we should start looking all over again. And then they're going to turn around and they're going to say, well, why would I want to do that? Well, you just told me you'd feel comfortable going out to dinner twice. It's about at least $400 or $500. That's less money than the difference in the mortgage payment to own this home. So if you go out to dinner twice and you're saying a home means all these things to you, repeat back their motivations, I don't think you should buy it. And I think we should pull the offer and start all over again. 9 out of 10 times, the people come right up. And if not, they thank you. And like, yeah, you're right. If I'd spend money for dinner and I wouldn't my house, like, let's move on. But the thing I want you to get out of there is not using those exact words, but understanding the framework that I did, right? The framework said I wasn't attached. I gave them a scenario that they would agree with based on their belief systems, values, and how they see the world. And it was very easy for them to understand, correct? And the last one is, just because they choose to do something does not mean you have to compromise. Meaning, if they have no bearing of what the market is and they're not willing to pay for a house and all this other stuff, why do you have to still take them out? You don't have to. We all need to learn to say no. Really, you have to say no. It's for your mental sanity. And by the way, when you take a referral and they're unrealistic and you continue to bring them out and you don't have success, what do people say about you? Oh, I sent them the referral and it didn't work out. Or when you take a bad listing, oh, look, he listed or she listed the house and yeah, they weren't able to sell it. No one tells the narrative. It's like in sports, the box score just says if you win or lose. So sharing the market versus owning the market, right? Now, when you start explaining things, you own the market, right? You don't want to own anything. We already know that no one has control over the market. Nobody. You don't have control over the stock market, inflation, interest rates, world events, local economies, what other buyers are willing to pay for homes. You don't control any of that stuff. So you all have to take a big self-reflection on how am I communicating this with other people? How are you communicating this with other people? Because this is the difference that makes a difference, right? So if you think about it, you have a buyer and they give you a scenario, right? And you could say to them, let's look at the market through the eyes of your goals and expectations, right? That's what you want to tell people, not anything else. What else would you want to tell them? Because in reality, that's all they really care about. Do they care about anything else? They care about them, me, right? Now, if you start looking at it through their expectations, is it easy to guide the conversation? Yes. Now, here's another question. Based on your research, what is your view of the market? Now, I'm going to go through a couple live scenarios here now. So, who wants to be a volunteer today? This is called put your money where your mouth is, right? You can come up with any cockamamie scenario that actually comes up with, and we'll walk through this. Diane, are you raising your hand? Okay, let's unmute yourself.
I'm trying to raise my hand.
All right, good. So you can give me your scenario and we'll walk through this.
Okay, so I've been saving for a house and I've been looking for a while, but I don't find what I like because there's such limited inventory, and I don't want to settle because I want to buy my dream house. I don't want to spend money now and then up it 2 years from now. So I'm having difficulty finding what I want in my price range. Should I be going to a different region? I don't know where to go from here.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that you've worked very hard to save for this home and you want to make sure it's not the right home only for you today, but in the future from now, correct?
Correct, yes.
So why don't we do this? Let's look at the market through the eyes of your goals and expectations, ideally in the area that you want and maybe some surrounding areas that you like. And based on what other buyers are willing to pay for homes, see if anything makes sense for you.
Okay.
And if not, we have three. Would it be okay if I shared with you the three outcomes that could come out of this?
Yes, please do.
Number one, you could find a house that you love and we could move forward with it. Number two, you'll get a clear understanding of what the market is based on what other buyers are willing to pay for homes and know when that right home comes exactly what you need to do to get it. Or the third one, this is okay as well, is this could not be the right time for you to purchase a home, and we could just keep sending you properties and look at what potentially renting for another year or 2 years would look like, and maybe the market will change. Which one
do you have a clear view of where the market is going? I mean, that's okay. So we're in late spring. Do you think come September more inventory will come on, or do you think that prices will level out? What is your view?
Well, if I could answer that question, I think I'd have a crystal ball and I'd be richer than Warren Buffett. You know, based on trends, right? You could say these are the trends in your market. But again, I'm going to go back and I would say to you, I encourage you to look at the way things are today, right? If we went back 6 months ago, no one could have predicted that this is where the economy would be, that there'd be a war, there'd be this high inflation. So let's look at what's happening in reality. And I understand because of the time that you've put into this, you're apprehensive about making the wrong decision. Is that correct?
Sure.
Got it. So let's get focused on what you really want. And remember, there are things that you can control, things that I can control, things that no one can control. And let's focus on the things that we can control.
Okay.
Simple?
Simple.
Was I
Not that
combative? Did I
encouraging.
tell you anything?
Well, I
What?
have to say, it's not, I don't feel as a buyer, I wouldn't feel encouraged by that. That wouldn't lift me up. That wouldn't say, oh, there's a, something good's gonna come. And I don't know.
But
I
you
always
can't
like
promise them something's going to come because your buyer's unrealistic to begin with.
no,
I'm
I'm not
saving
trying to
money.
be unrealistic. I'm
No,
trying
no,
to,
but I'm saying, but this is a good point though.
yeah,
Diane, is you can say it with enthusiasm, right? Hey, we're going to
right.
look at the market. We're going to see what the stuff is like. You can, it's the tonality in which you say it, depending on who the client is, right? But remember, your job is to give them the reality of what life is. When you have somebody that says, I'm saving, I want to find the right thing, I don't really see what I like, what they're really saying is, I want to spend this much money and I want a house like this and I can't see it. And my $3,500 mortgage payment in January got me $802,000, and now it gets me $644,000, right? Like that's the reality of what the market is now. So it is very important for us to be firm with this. Like, and part of this is real estate. We want our clients to like us and we want to make them happy. But in doing this, let's play this forward for an agent, right? We kind of make them excited. We go along. What's going to happen to you? You're going to be going house after house after house after house. They're disappointed. You start getting frustrated. They call you and you're like, oh my God, I gotta take this woman out again. And then she's not going to buy. Like, this is what happens, right? So like, we have to be honest with the people in the beginning. And look, this person most likely will need to rent for another year or two, I would bet. Right. And if you can help somebody get to that conclusion on their own and save them the time and be honest about it, not only did you win their business, you're going to win all their friends' business. So they're going to say, you know what? That Diana Compass, she's an honest agent and she did not tell me the same thing and make me waste my time like everybody else.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
You're
I don't
welcome. Who
agree
else?
with you.
What's that?
I don't agree with you.
That's fine.
I do share the view that if we were to just say that would be disappointing for a client. And I also agree with you that we shouldn't own something, but we can say, right now it looks like because of the Fed, rates are going up, and that looks to be the trend for now. And if rates go up, that will reduce purchasing power. I think there are factual ways of
listen, we can't have
people.
a 20-minute conversation with a client here, but like high level, right? Like you can
Right.
share facts, and I encourage you to share facts, right? And when we
Yep.
talk about going through the market in those three scenarios, she
Yep.
would want to go through and look at the areas, look at the prices, look at what's available, look at what's sold, and really walk her through like what it would be like buying in this town, buying in the other town, what it would be like renting, and then do a thorough analysis of all three based on their affordability, goals, and expectations. And then ask them, what do you think will work best for you, right? Like you have to go, one thing I do agree with what you're saying. If I just said that, right, and I didn't actually do the research part and the work part, that'd be a horrible thing to do to somebody because it's just shutting them down. It's not
Correct.
really making them feel heard. But the part is, and I'm happy you asked this question, you have to then go through and say, okay, let's like, if you want to buy in Smithtown, Long Island, let's go through and see what's on in Smithtown, right? Oh, well, let's go to Hop Hog. That's a couple towns up on the LIE. Let's see what that's like. Let's see what the rental prices are. Let's see what it was like 6 months ago. You're going to have to walk through your clients with this, because if you don't walk them through the entire scenario, they're going to feel like you did not show them everything, right? And then they'll just go to another broker, right? So
Well, don't understand economics. I mean, just because, I mean, right now, it would be more expensive to sign up for renting in most cases, at least in the market I live in, and buying would be a hedge against inflation.
So look, to make this very simple, we
With
have to go through. What's that?
well, without sounding bossy or owning. I mean, I really
No, look, it's really simple. The data is the data, right?
right.
And look, this is Connie's example this is what her belief of the market is, right? She believes that she just stated it, hedging against inflation, renting. As brokers, our jobs as facilitators is to know the data, is to know the market and share it with a client and give them multiple different options. Because what most brokers do is like, I want to buy a house. Great. Let me send you houses. Let's get out. Let's go. Like heartbeat pre-approval. You have a real reason to move. Let's go. Right. So what I'm saying to you guys is as the market's shifting, as customer experience is more important, as you have that ruling in Missouri about the price fixing, right, and commission. These are all things that being an advisor goes through, right? If you went to your financial advisor, they're going to walk you through a SEP, they're going to walk you through an IRA, they're going to walk you through a 401k, and we just have to give people those same options, right? And what I want everyone to get out of this, and there could not be two better people that had two different viewpoints in doing this. Look, I encourage everyone to take a piece of paper out and write this down. What are my standards in a client I will work with today? What are my standards? And understand that once you have that list, you now have something to measure against, right? It's the whole reason of having a filter is so you don't let things in that you don't want to have in. So as we continue to do this and go through this, we're going to want to be very mindful of what are our standards, right? Who are the right clients? How do we educate clients? And ultimately, a skill that every broker needs to learn is how to nicely tell an unrealistic client that you're not working with them and have them be happy about it. Not everyone's going to buy a house. Not everyone's even going to win a house. What you need to prepare yourself for is in multiple offer situations when predominantly so many homes are selling in cash. You could have a financing offer and the client could do every single thing you say and you could still lose. So like in our coaching calls, I'm like, my client did everything I said and they still lost. And now they think they might be working with the wrong broker. My question is, did you explain to them in the beginning that based on where they're looking, blank percentage of homes are selling in cash? So even if we do everything we can, there could be a chance that the seller doesn't take the offer, right? Like these are all things that we need to factor into when we're talking about sharing the market, right? So start to wrap your head around this, right? So hit yes if you started to kind of get an idea of just thinking through this just a little bit differently. So get an idea of where everybody is. And I'll be the first one to say, please don't agree with everything I say just because I say it. Internalize it, make it your own, realize everything is market specific, and all of it comes down to economics and numbers. All right, let's keep going. So remember, based on your research, what is your view of the market, right? And this will be the biggest tell-all sign of where they are, right? So remember, there are three key indicators in any market, right? There are days on market, list price to sales price, and the ultimate sales price. Those are the three main numbers that you need to share with anybody, right? Now, there's this concept of asking versus telling, right? Now, the way that your brain processes information is different when you share something with words verbalized out of your mouth versus when somebody tells you. So now, if I say to you, you know what, Chirag, homes are selling in under 10 days and it's a very competitive market, so you need to. You see, this house sold really fast, and this is what people do, right? You're going through comps and you're telling them about it, right? Versus asking. Now, if you flipped it and we're going through this, how many days are the homes selling for in this area based on what you see in the comps? Like imagine I was holding up the comps, the collections, a digital screen or anything. I'd say, how many days did that home sell for? It sold in 10 days. Is that faster than you think, or is that on the market too long? No, faster. So do you think the market is competitive, not competitive? What are your thoughts? No, it's competitive. Okay, great. Let's go to list price to sales price. You know, this is what buyers are paying for homes versus what sellers are asking for them. Ask them the same question, 116%, 120%. So you're saying that buyers that are buying in this neighborhood are paying 120% of what the sellers are asking. Yeah. And ultimately, what are the sales prices? They read back to you the prices, and you're going to say, so buyers are willing to pay blank to live in this home. And then you could say, based on what you see, right? A good question to ask is, what do you think a good offer would be if you wanted to live in this area? Now, when you ask people these questions, if this was hiring, this would be called situational hiring, right? Like you give people actual situations and context. And what you're looking for is you're going to see how they think, how they process the information, and ultimately how they respond and find out why they would do it. So if you walk people through comps like that, and that's where they want to live, and then they give you an answer, you know what they're thinking and what they're going to do before you even do anything, right? And another way is, and we'll get more into like bringing them back. So I would say based on what you are saying and you feel the market is, remember, I'm just now repeating the words back to them, right? You said it is a competitive market. This is what buyers are paying. And ultimately, if you want to own a home in this neighborhood, this is what it costs. Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is inclusive versus non-inclusive, right? And to do this the right way, you need to practice it, right? And you need to set a frame. So I'd say, Hannah, you know, as we go through the market, you know, would it be okay with you if I included you in the conversation? We kind of just talked through this together. And what do you think every person's going to say? Yeah, of course. All right, so I said, look, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I have all the comps prepared in the area, and let's go through this together and make sure that we're in alignment. Great. How fast are those homes selling, right? Now you're asking them, and now they're like, yeah, I want to be included in this process. And the other thing to say is it's really important at the end of this that you have a clear understanding of the market is in your own words, your own thoughts, and I want to be able to make sure you have clarity at the end. Who's not going to want that, right? So in the end, the way that your brain works, when they're doing it, they're internalizing it. You've never said that it's competitive, you have to pay 120%, and this is what it costs to live here. They said it. And that's based on data, right? Now, there's always these special people. I understand, Hannah, but I don't want to pay that much money. Okay. So here's my question. What do you guys say when somebody does that? Somebody new. You go through all of the comps and everything else. You have them read out the stuff. You follow the whole entire thing, and then they just punch you. It's like Mike Tyson says it, you know, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. You're frustrated. Anyone else? Jill, good morning.
Sorry about that. I always tell them there's a strategy that we can employ. If you want to, we can I can run searches for homes that have been on the market for 2 weeks or more. But the homes that you're showing me that you like are the cream of the crop, and those are still going to be going in 3 or 4 days. Which is better for you? Do you want to, get the perfect home, or are you willing to settle for something that maybe has been on the market for a little while that needs more of a facelift?
Can I make this simple for you? You know what I'd smile and say? I completely understand that, Jill. And if you were selling a home and you had access to the same information, you saw what other buyers are willing to pay, would you take less for the home? They're going to say no. And then I'm going to just say, okay.
But don't you think there are people that are not going to pay for whatever reason they have in their mind? And there is an answer for them. There is a solution to avoid getting into a competitive bid.
There is a solution, but here's what I want all of us to get to. Everything here is planned, it's purposeful, and it's a process. 3 P's: plan, purposeful, process. You can write that down, right? So we need them to be in clear and explicit agreement with us. So you're not out there doing things and they're blaming you for the market. You like, no, like, would you take less? No. So you're saying you wouldn't take less. Did you think any of these other people are? No. So let's go through some other, I have several other strategies and ideas that could potentially work for what you want. Would it be, make sure you always say this, would it be okay if I shared them with you? Right? When you use the words, would it be okay? It allows the other person to be in control. If someone will find them a deal, sometimes it's good to get rid of people. Addition by subtraction. I'm a huge advocate of that. What deal, right? Like, subjectively speaking, minus private exclusives and off-market deals, we're all looking at the same stuff. It's not different. It is all in the way you communicate this. So when you start framing it with the you control, I control, no one controls, you use the 7 keys to an effective conversation. You're able to share data points, have them be inclusive of the conversation, never disagree with their view, ask them questions if they would do stuff like that so it becomes more relatable to them versus you saying, well, that's not what people are paying for. Planned, purposeful, and a process. Right?
Yeah.
If somebody says, I want a deal, what does a good deal based on your goals and your expectations look like to you? So when anyone says, I want a deal, you could say, great. What does a great deal look like to you based on your goals and your expectations? And see what they say. So ready? Planned, right? That's a planned question. Purposeful, it's purposeful in the way we engage with them. And then the process is, now we see where they are, right? They're going to tell us what they think a good deal is. And then you're going to just nicely tell them, would it be okay if we look through the market, through the eyes of your goals and your expectations and what you feel a good deal is? And then you're going to go through all the data and you're going to say, based on what you're saying, how many days is this home selling in? What's the list price? Like, are any of the deals that you're looking for based on what's sold recently available? No. If you are a seller looking at this, that type of deal, would you sell your home for that price in this market? No. Okay. And then you keep going. But they need to say no. You can't tell them. Look, we have people come to us with all kinds of dreams, all kinds of things. And some of these things are crazy what people want. Like, literally, I'm looking at them. I'm like, I know you, I know your business. I mean, this is just a terrible idea. But I can't just have show up and tell people this is a bad idea. I have to just keep asking them questions and questions and questions and questions to help them understand how this all goes. This is a very different way of working with people. So I'm just going to acknowledge this for everybody. For most people that have been doing this, this is going to be uncomfortable. This is going to be new. Probably not going to like doing this. And that's why you should be doing it. Because everyone else works this other way. Look, gas prices are high, inflation is high, inventory is down. The NAR chief economist is saying inventory is going to go down by almost 10% and prices are still going to go up. Right? What you can afford, that example I gave for the $3,500 market, is very valid. Those are real numbers. So people are in a very unique place. This is the time to know data, understand how to have these conversations. It is more important ever before than what's going on in this entire industry to really learn how to be an advocate. And this creates the best client experience. Because people aren't getting this. Realtors don't know how to shut up. They just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. It's terrible. Listen, ask, plan, purposeful process. Just talk. Go watch yourself the next time you go to somebody, how long some of these tangents you go on for. That person came there to move because they had a legitimate reason in their life. And you just spent the next 5.5 minutes on some freaking rant about God knows what. What space does that give another person? How much you really know about them? You know, when you go to somebody that says, why do you want to move? When do you want to be there? And what's your budget? Man, depending on the tone, those are very accusatory. More like, hey, moving is about as fun as paying taxes. It's something no one wants to do, but you end up having to do it. Like, what are you excited about moving about now? Right? Find out why they want to move. Like, what's exciting about it, right? And then when you want to ask those questions and you really understand what's important to somebody, you can then go back and say, hey, you know, for housekeeping, I have a couple questions just so I have the right context, right? Instead of saying your budget, like, what numbers do you want to stay within when looking at homes? Isn't that a better way of saying it? Is there any specific numbers that you'd like to stay within when purchasing a home versus what's your max budget? And then ask them what's important to you about those numbers so they have some context as we work together. Listen, caring is a competitive advantage. It really is. It doesn't cost any money in life to be thoughtful, kind, and considerate. It really doesn't. And look, it's okay if these people have these crazy ideas. We all have crazy ideas too. We don't ever want to stop anyone's dreams, but we also want to be able to educate people and do what's right for ourselves. Like, my goal is to, like, I would use the words protect all of you. Because we all need to protect our hearts, we need to protect our energies, and we need to protect what we let into our lives in this business. Because a bad client is not a bad client. It's stress, it's time, you're losing money. You don't ever think about all the good clients. Our focus is on that one bad client, right? Hit yes in the chat box if you have a client you want to get rid of. Yeah. One no, mostly yeses. So Kate and I actually, she'll have this in our accountability session. We'll share it with everybody. Her and I actually wrote a reset email yesterday that we'll give you, that if you feel that your clients and you have strayed from what you initially did, it's an email you could set up a meeting just to kind of reset goals, expectations, where you are, and go through it, right? Because the thing that you want to remember is if you've been working with a buyer for more than 2 to 3 months, the interest rates have changed so much, their affordability has changed a lot. So it's a good time now to kind of reset your buyers and understand where they are, what makes sense for them, because prices sure as hell have not come down to reflect the change in interest rates. Kate, where's that email? Where'd you go?
I'm here.
Where
Let me see where it is. I just sent it to Kim if she's on today. Do you want me to just read it out loud? Might just make it easier.
Yeah, or we could put, is it in a Google Doc where you could just drop the link in for everybody now?
Yeah, I can. I don't have it in right now, but I can send it out to everybody. We'll get that to everyone today.
So we'll email, we'll put this in our platform.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, you can read it.
So it just says, dear your client, it's very quick. As the market has changed, we know your goals have not. I wanted to take this opportunity for us to set up a meeting and review your original goals, expectations, and to create a collaborative plan to move forward. I'm committed to your success and want to take the time to realign with you. Please let me know if you have some time in the next day or so. Warmly, Kate. Very simple.
And look, it's not, and we'll choked up a little bit. Look, this job is very challenging, right? Like the emotions that I've seen from people lately and what they're doing, it's hard, right? It really is hard. It is a tight economy. It is a tight market. And this is why all this stuff's important. So if there's anything you do is practice, practice, practice. Like I would love for you all to own these conversations. Like truly, it will make your life so much better. It'll make your clients' lives so much better. right? The people like, what's the difference? It makes a difference. Go back and watch last session, watch this session, go to the accountability group, become obsessed, start practicing this 10, 15 minutes a day, and watch the words really work like magic, right? The best conversations, like, I did that whole control thing, and people are like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, okay. And they just go along with it, because it's an actual psychological process that you walk people's brains through so they can understand. So we'll be back next week to go through multiple offers. That is always a fun conversation on how to have them, how to educate our clients. We actually have a multiple offer template that we can share with all of you. I guess we're gonna have to take the personal letter part out because they start banning them illegal in some states, which is another thing in the world that makes no sense. And so we'll go through that next week, connect with people. And as Kate put the link, the Google Doc link, so we'll leave this up here so everyone can click for a second. And Brooke will take this in PDF and put it in our platform.
Yeah, let me know if that works. I just made it.
Yep. Copy, paste. Yep, we're good to go. So as always, with love in my heart, I love you all. And thank you so much for being present. And someone actually asked me, like, how's that blueprint thing you're going? I'm like, literally from the time we started till now, the retention rate of people showing up is like pretty much almost at 100%, because they've come back week after week after week and shown up. So
Well, you're very good at what you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, you have a question? Matt McKee. Where'd he go? Just disappeared. I think he had a question. If anyone has a question, drop it in. Boston was great. So we will keep plugging away. And remember, after next week, we have these implementation sessions, right? That's really where we're going to go back, review the last 3 weeks, and show you how to make sure it ends up in your calendar and that you will actually do it. Or am I going to have a West Coast event? Yes, I'm going to have a West Coast event. I'm trying to make my way out there. You know, the funny thing is, you do a good live event, you have all these different requests. So over the next coming months, I look forward to traveling to many other markets and meeting a lot of you. So the next time we have an event or coming to a market, I will share it all with all of you here first. And, you know, for those who came to Boston, thank you for coming. It was great to see people. It's like Toy Story, you know, when the toys come to life. It's like when your Zoom friends turn into like real people in front of you. It's always a cool feeling. So we'll see everybody next week. Enjoy your accountability groups. And I hope everyone has a powerful weekend. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.